Here's Michael's goodies to put everything back together. We're waiting for the kingpins to get finished, which should be today or tomorrow. I think I don't know if I showed you, but we plan on putting a new seal in here only because it looked as it was leaking. Now, if you can see my hand here turn just slightly, and you can see this shaft here turn virtually immediately. There's virtually no backlash. There's no growl. There's no funny business going on in the rear axle. So the internal bearings we're not going to take apart, but they've got this rolled on its side using a used front suspension and a used rear axle that we have here in stock, and I started cutting out things that were rusty, things that were all patched up. And it looks as though they have wrapped over or patched over this jack port. Man, I don't know how you're going to get... This is metal wrapped right over the top of it?
Yeah.
We couldn't see that, obviously, because of other stuff on the inside.
This is the original floor, and then this is the jack port rail, and this is the...
And it's supposed to be real thick, and it's kind of...
It's real thin.
It's kind of roached out. You know, when you bump your head against this post right here, it stops your head really fast. And it kind of makes you see little funny things in your head.
Stars?
Yeah. I'm just wondering if we can knock that stuff off of there and save it. It's got holes in it, but they're actually somebody drilled them.
Yeah, these are they had the false floors in with little brackets.
Yep. But I'm not sure how you're going to get that old metal ripped off from it.
Right. Well, it'll take...
This is the right side. The left side was worse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But we don't know about that jack port yet.
Right. We'd have to do the same thing.
Well, let's cut into that a little bit more. This here looks to be intact, but it's full of rust. The whole chamber is plugged up full, isn't it?
Yeah, this is all coming out of it. If we blow down from there all the way...
Oh, look at all the seeds.
Big time.
Look at all the seeds.
Yeah.
Storing up for the winter. Did some of that come out of here, or mostly come out of here?
No, out of here, out of this end.
Out of this end?
Yep.
So this is going to be the same way all the way up through.
Yep.
I can see debris here, but this one's filled. I'm afraid if we leave this and don't clean that and paint it inside,
right.
I kind of planned on doing it, that you're going to end up with future rust. All right, now you cut the rocker panels off, I'm seeing.
Yeah, rocker panels are rough. I don't even know.
Over here.
Oh yeah. They welded the rocker panels completely on and ground a groove in it so that it looked like that it was a two-piece, you know what I mean?
Yeah. This end is intact.
Yep,
Can we bring these in the light a little bit better out here? I see where they overlap and welded plates.
Yeah, they welded all the way up. There was nothing to bolt to.
Oh, and there was no... The metal's so thin it's about ready to break off. And if you were to sandblast this...
It'd be full of holes.
I think you'd be all pinholed everywhere.
And they're heavy, so there's a lot of mud in them.
So there's Bondo all over the place on them?
Yeah. You can feel they're pretty thick.
Yeah, they are heavy. Well, what we'll probably do is sand this so the customer can see that primarily his rocker panels are half plastic. This doesn't appear to be nasty here, but that could be Bondo too.
Yeah.
This is really pitted through here. I see they liked putty.
Yeah. Stick them back on.
Well, we'll cross that bridge shortly. You tried to save the fender, which it looks like you did,
Yeah, we saved the fender.
and the rear quarter, which that panel in between there is all rusted away. Well, when we cut this out, we'll be replacing this probably. You'll be able to get in there and see what condition that
This
is.
all, you can see this is all bonded.
That's all plastic
the way
through
up,
there, yeah. Again, we don't know what's under it. Is it gaping holes that they filled, or the weird part is this doesn't feel right, but the stone guard fit it.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So I don't know what we're gonna do. What we're gonna do there.
It could have been the cylinder and fit though.
Let's see if we can't peel this off of here and find out. Oh my goodness, they welded this in all the way across here.
Oh yeah, on the inside. Brazed.
So is this tunnel been patched
I
too?
didn't see any patches there, but there are patches on the rail on the inside. But I didn't see anywhere where they patched. I couldn't see because there's so much glue and undercoat to cover
Yeah.
it up.
Well, this is a patch that they put on, so you're gonna break that away.
Yeah.
We'll finish breaking this all out. Let's cut this the rest of the way up, and let's go ahead and cut this cap off so we can get a look at the rail.
Right.
And then let's see if this can't be removed properly, and this is going to be all full of holes. This is supposed to be 1/8 of an inch thick.
Yeah.
There ain't no way it's 1/8 of an inch thick anymore. We may have to cut this out and change that. Especially if it's going to take you 3 hours to save it and 2 hours to change it.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. So cut that open a little farther, and I'll get some more pictures. You're planning on doing pretty much the one side
Just
first
the
at a time.
passenger side first, yeah.
Okay.
We were trying to do the easy side first.
Yeah, this one doesn't look quite as bad as the driver's side. I know that rail is pretty nasty. I can see
There's a hole right there.
I can see holes there and holes behind there yet. So I know that rail is going to be real iffy when we pull that cap off. You can see that there's been patchwork up here, and I know there's been patchwork on the side of the rail. So yeah, let's get this popped open, blow it out the rest of the way. We'll probably go ahead and pull that trailing arm support out, and the rear end will still be hanging from the middle and the other side there, right?
Yeah, we set it back down on the ground to pull that off.
Okay. All right. Keep plugging away. If you can save those, if you can save this cross member.
That one don't appear to have it wrapped.
No, it doesn't. Seat brackets are rotted off on the front, but we can build a little piece for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and peel it off. I'll get a shot of it all opened up. I noticed they got the windshield frame off, and we're going to inspect the rubber seal around the glass. We figured on changing that. I'm going to look at that a little more carefully. I'm not positive that there's a problem with that, but I'm looking at it here right now. Okay, yeah, it's split. It's weather checked and cracked, and this is all cracked. It's definitely obvious that the bottom seal is shot. I'm amazed that they didn't put a new one on. The windshield glass itself it's a Sigla. It is the original OEM type of glass. And if I'm not mistaken, they put a new windshield in here using the old rubber seal over. Yep, that's what it looks like. New glass, old rubber seal. So, and you can see why anyone would use a seal here with cracks. Look at this, if I just rub my finger over it, it is split every inch or two, literally cut.
Up on that white box, that should cover a pretty good area.
Amazing. But we're going to change that, and we're going to put a new gasket around the glass, and she'll be ready to go back together then. Lots of seeds, lots of debris came out of that frame. You can see the deep surface rust. I got to show you some of the patches that they put in here. This is the remains of the seat rail. Rather than change the seat rail, they hammered over a patch and put a big flat piece in the floor, and you can see how bad this rail was. The seat bracket here, that's what's left of the flange going to the floor. This had flanges like this right in through here. We'll trim this off, blast inside, clean it up. We'll trim this off, put new flanges on. They're going to cut inside of here along this wall, try to retain this shape here. They'll cut in here and replace half of this rail, saving half the rail for use on the other facing side of that, which they're pretty sure they need. They welded sheet metal and wrapped over the top of this. It's very deeply pitted. This should be 1/8 of an inch thick. You can see it's getting really thin here. This is one of the most structural parts of the car, tying the center tunnel into the outer frame rail. It needs to be very strong. There's, like I said, almost straight through. I'm sure if we sandblasted this, don't you think holes would appear? Yeah? Holes are going to appear here. The rail here is totally gone on the inside. I can touch the patch through these rotted holes, and here as well. Here it was rusted, but they hammered a piece of metal from the top down and then onto the floor. So they're going to cut this out, cut right up through here, around behind here, and all the way down somewhere in this area, and replace just this inner part of this rail.
Instead of doing the whole thing.
Instead of doing the whole rail, we can sandblast and clean up, wire brush, paint phosphoric acid rich material in here and preserve this rail. The other side, we think, being worse, we're not going to be able to save that rail. Seat mounts we're going to save. They're 18 gauge. These are a little bit thin in spots, but we can put new flanges here on the bottom as necessary. And this will retain the shape of the seat mount and all that. This is in very good shape, so we've discussed that we're going to cut a large flap here that we can get in there with air and paint and what have you. We'll blow this out. When you look down through here, this hole, there are acorns and seeds and things like that in there, nuts from, you know, squirrels living in there. Getting this thing up in the air and poking around a little bit. This is the bracket that mounts the brake lines, and it's just as weak as can be. There's holes all through here around it. We don't see this very often on cars because we don't even make this piece. We'll have to hand build something here. This was already rotted out all the way because someone pop riveted a patch. Instead of fixing it, they pop riveted a patch over it so they could attach the brake line, a brake line mount here. So they did some repairs, but not probably. I took my finger and just flaked off something here a few minutes ago and pushed a hole right straight through the trunk floor. And there's a piece of metal hanging here, which tells me this area has been patched already at one time. If the metal's this thin that I can poke it with my fingertip, I'm a little concerned about that. We'll get a shot from inside the trunk. We make this, but I could, you know, make a little piece here on the end if that's all it needs. But it's just one more thing that we didn't expect to find on here. So I'll let them get going here again. They're grinding, they're saving these supports. They're just grinding the old metal off, and I'll let them get going on that. But we're doing one side first, so I'm going to bring them back some pieces here. They don't feel comfortable using this rotted away frame member, and I'm kind of don't either. It's been all patched up, holes drilled in it where it didn't need to be. It would take me 2 hours to try and clean this one up, and then it's thin, and probably an hour and a half to replace it. So we're going to put a new one in. We'll get back in a bit. Oh, they also got this cleaned up a little bit better in here, so you can see the hole in that frame area here that they got to fix. So like I said, they're doing one side. We'll tackle this side here, get new stuff in here within the next couple days. That'll be going back together, and then we'll hit the other side. Back to Michael's car. You can see this was so thin that they chopped out half of this rail, which was all beat up. It had pieces, patches put over it. You can see like 3 layers of metal here where they patched over. The problem is they go over top of rust that way and trap it inside. We got to get that out of there and clean it and cut it. So we've cut this this rail out of here. You can see that they patched over that. They patched over the tunnel over here. Chose to cut out the center of this, saving these because they only need one flange here. And we'll cut half of the new one apart and save it for the other side because we're pretty sure it's bad on the other side. Actually was quicker to cut this rusty mess out of here. You can see that they patched over the top of it here. And try to put and then they went across and did the floors, and you can see that they patched over the top of it. But I don't know if I can get my finger in there without cutting myself. It's rusty under it and rusty in between it, and they just went over top of the rust. Let me set this down here for a moment. I shouldn't see much of anything, but there we go. This is the kind of stuff that we see too often. They left all this rust here in the car and went over with a piece of thinner sheet metal that wasn't even painted. It's just plain sheet metal, and it's all rusty as well. So all they're doing with these type of repairs is just covering over the rust and getting by for a short period of time. And the rust just continues to go and go until the car becomes dangerous to drive. So it would have taken more hours to try and cut that out and sandblast and clean up. It was so rusty underneath and so beat up. And you see pinholes through here that they just decided to cut that rail section out and this piece out. Probably saved 4 or 5 hours worth of labor, which will more than cover the parts. So this is a piece that they put in that they can't even figure out why, because it covered over rusty metal, but the metal underneath didn't have holes in it. So you can see it takes a lot of hours to cut away this old stuff that they patched it with, and sometimes it wasn't even necessary to patch it. This was a thinner metal than was there originally, and it just covered over rust, so we don't know why some of it was there. These are the pieces they're going to be putting in. He's still grinding the remains of this off. And we'll get in there, wire brush, and blast it. You still got 3 layers here, don't you?
Up front,
And 2 here. Does this got to come off? What is?
Should only be 2 layers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's 2 layers down where it's only.
It's 3. They put a patch here, then your existing rail is in there and here.
Yeah.
This has to go.
Yeah.
And this piece here has to go. All right. Well, we do have the kingpin deals pressed in and honed, so they'll be able to start putting the front suspension back together soon. And they've got to press in new bushings in here. These are bad, and the bronze bushings that correspond to that area are also. We videoed those before, so those are all scuffed up. We have new ones back here. And then we'll be able to start putting all this back together. Okay, we got the kingpins back. I don't know if I filmed them or not, but we have them back. As long as I quit throwing them around. They fit perfectly. Virtually no play, just enough room for grease. These will be cleaned up and painted. We decided to take tonight and just quickly pop the, try to keep it clean here, pop the valve cover off, inspect the timing chain gears and the cam gear and what have you, and see what let me unplug these plug wires so it's not hanging here on the side. Okay, take it. Have you got that new camshaft gear? You can see this very well on the camera. Each peak of the gear should have a big flat spot on top, like this. I'll try to get the camera to a slight angle. You can see that his camshaft gear is almost pointed. It's more than half.
It's about half. Yeah.
Half worn out. Okay, so they did not put a new. I'm guessing they put a new timing chain in it though, because it looks clean. However, these are not original, so I know that they've been in here because these are new style guides. Okay. Up here, grab this a sec. I brought the camera so I can take some still shots if we see anything we want to take some shots of. Is it just me, or does it look like that's been broken and welded?
Yeah. It has. Cam's gear's been broke too.
Oh yeah, that's been broke.
The what has?
The cam gear itself.
This is supposed to be a round circle, perfectly round all the way around it. There's no bottom on it.
What are you talking
The
about?
collar is gone. Broke right off.
You need new one of these gears?
The cam,
No, this collar.
this
little
collar. Yeah.
Follow your finger down and around it.
They're like $40.
Oh, the external washer's sheared off.
It's not a washer.
It's part of the camshaft.
Part of the camshaft.
Well, I don't think I'm filming Steve. I got to get my camera in the right
Where's
spot
the other
here.
gears?
Yeah, that's
This
kind
one,
of
and there's one here.
it's totally missing.
Oh,
I don't know if I can get a shot of that here or not, but
Do you need all these
Can we
gears?
spin it?
there's a great big chunk
Can we spin it?
missing out of the camshaft.
Can it all?
Well, I can tell you one thing. The timing chain on here
Slipping.
that you can't push or flex, I've never seen a timing chain that tight before.
It seems pretty tight.
Try and wiggle it.
You can't even move these at all.
You're not supposed to be able to.
Oh, they don't move?
No.
I thought they were pinned in.
Don't
kinda
get your
pivoted
fingers
back
down
and
there. If he
forth.
does move this motor, you're not going to want your fingers by that chain.
There it goes.
All right. Push the belt down tight. Okay. So it's got it
All you
coming.
gotta do is spin that.
Compression side.
Now you got another compression stroke.
Take the spark plugs out.
Pull the
it'll probably
spark
be a lot
plugs out.
easier.
She'll spin over like mad. That's good enough. Okay.
All right.
This big teardrop that's chopped out of the camshaft
Oh, this is a new one. So you already got
shouldn't be.
It's one on the left for that car.
This has been beat up badly, but it looks
all welded.
looks like it's been all welded up, which is okay if they reline board this and got it to fit properly. And the only way we're going to know that, we got to pull the spark plugs. We got to take the timing chain. We're going to put a new gasket on this anyway. Just leave it laying there. We're going to take the camshaft gear loose.
Looks like it's been resurfaced at some point.
We got to pop these, take the rocker arms off so the camshaft is just free, and we got to see if we can spin it. If it's tight as can be, issues.
That's got to get replaced.
Well, you can't replace just one.
Oh, you.
They're in a set.
You can, but you have to machine them.
They're
all
in a
to the
set
same.
and they're line board. I'm not sure what we would have to do there. So the next gear down is bad.
They make shims for those that you can shim them through the phone.
The next gear down is supposed to have great big flat spots on the gear, and it's not there. Whoa. Hold that light up here like that. There belongs a bolt right there.
In the bottom,
Right there, you see a hole right there that I'm pointing out with this,
I see threads on the side.
where my pencil is sitting.
Yeah.
There's supposed to be a bolt there, a head bolt.
Oh.
Yeah. There's another one right here, but it's got oil in it. Let me feel. Watch my pencil. See my pencil go down?
Oh my gosh.
No head bolt. So there's two head bolts missing. They're not as important as these head bolts, but the head gasket goes clean around the front. There's no head bolts in the front of the cylinder head whatsoever. You can see this one is missing,
Oh yeah.
and the pencil will go right down in it. There's another one right here. It's under the oil. It's right there, but see how far my pencil goes down? There's no head bolt there whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah, that wasn't good to find. Okay, well, and again, you can see the big, thick, flat spots on these gears, and there aren't virtually any on this gear. Before we rotated it, I forgot to film it, but before we rotated it, this gear actually has, the outer gear has a chunk knocked right out of it, like, I don't know, something caught on it and ripped it loose. I saw it, but I didn't film it before we took it off. They sure had the head apart, though, because that head is the cleanest head I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's been recently resurfaced. You can see.
You know, I mean,
Pretty recent.
it's a 1957 car, and you can see that the date of the cylinder head is 1957 right here. So it's the correct head for the car and everything. But we got issues. I want to find out why. All you do is put a new gasket under here and put it back together.
Yeah, new seal in it. Yeah.
We're going to take this timing chain tensioner apart, see if they assembled it wrong, because I've never seen a chain. I can't wiggle the chain at all.
Could be the wrong chain.
I've never seen a chain that you couldn't.
Not really the wrong chain. It's just that they machined the head so far that they took a link out of the chain.
I don't know what they did.
Now it made that tensioner.
I've never seen a chain.
Cause you can do that, it's just not
Yeah,
a
but
good idea.
no, the chain is so tight. If the front cam bearing wasn't bad, it will be.
Right.
It's pulling down on that thing so hard. Yeah. Well, we got a little more here to pull down.
We're gonna take the head off.
Cylinder head, well, to do what we want to do, drill out the shim and so on, yeah, but then we got to mic that cylinder head and see if that shim and a gasket brings him back up. We got to count the teeth in this. We didn't spin that far enough to find out if it
It's got a master link.
has a master link, but it would have to have something in it.
It's got a master link.
I would guess that they replaced this, but I've never seen one.
Chain, I can tell you that. Right?
Never seen one this tight. It looks like it's got different kind of rivets than the original chain does. So I'm guessing they put a chain on, but no gears, because the gears are old and worn out, which is what I was fearful of. But I guess we're gonna have to pull it down. Let's throw your cloth back across, or throw the cover back on,
I'll definitely put the cover.
and because we're doing a lot of grinding in the other end of the room here, we don't need metal shavings. Don't need metal shavings down inside. The gasket isn't gonna be seated properly, Rob, but just set it on there.
I'll fix it in the morning. I gotta go.
Okay. Well, I'll get some pictures. I'll call the customer and I'll get some pictures off to him, so he understands a little better. But
You done going outside?
not good. Not the end of the world, but not good. Back on Michael's engine here. We're going to take this apart. Looks like it's got the correct. Looks like it has the correct washers, at least one. What we've got to do is mic this thickness, machine this down to match it, because as you saw previously, it's sitting like that. So this is too thick. It does have the correct spacers, so that's an advantage. And then we're going to pull.
Issue with there's the chain tensioner. That's why it was so freaking tight. It's stuck some kind of cap nut over the end.
That doesn't belong there.
You're right.
That lengthened the tensioner rod.
Correct.
It compressed the spring all the way shut, didn't it?
Correct.
So there was no adjustment to it.
None
It was
whatsoever.
tighter, tighter.
Right.
Only when it warmed up and relaxed a little bit.
It wouldn't have mattered.
But it's so tight. I've never seen one that tight. Does this pull apart?
No. I couldn't get it off there. It's wedged in.
It's also bent.
Probably. I mean, it was on there tight.
Yeah, it has a little canter to the. It's 3 degrees or so canter to the left. Well, that tells me what I kind of had an idea of.
they couldn't get the tensioner to tension, so they just shoved that in there.
Well, did they not get the tensioner to tension because
Is this the wrong chain?
I'm wondering if, well, the difference between the chains,
chain.
the difference between the chains is 2 links. There ain't no way that that would take up 2 links, would it?
You could pull a link out, one link on it.
Well, when you pull this, when you rotate this around till we get the link up here on top, should we do that before we take things apart?
I don't really care.
Huh?
I don't really care.
I gotta be able to check it. I need to count the links. We gotta make sure. Actually, I wanna replace the chain because I don't trust it running on worn out gears. So, this is what would have happened if that had come loose.
We gotta pull the cam tower.
You can see how I can jump teeth here. Go ahead.
We're gonna pull the cam towers too.
The cam towers stay.
Well, you might as well take it.
I want to check the camshaft for rotation, whether it's tight or not first. So I want to take these off so there's no tension. So you pop these clips, take the rocker arms out, pull this bolt so the camshaft is loose, and I want to be able to spin that cam and see if it's tight, because I don't like the numbers I'm seeing written on stuff, what they shaved, the fact that they welded that cam stand up. Here, I jumped the link the other way. Maybe you can pull it back off.
I don't think you're gonna make it far enough. Well, maybe. Shouldn't be able to do it.
All right. No, you shouldn't. Pop. Actually, leave that on. Let's drop these clips out, pull the rocker arms, and then we'll test it.
I gotta pull the back arms and stuff.
You're gonna pull the stands. I'll get a shot here in a bit. Apologize for the air compressor. The good news is, with the head all bolted in place and everything mounted, the cam spins freely, just like it's supposed to. Now, we're not sure, because there are marks on the camshaft that do not correspond to the groove in the washer. There's a groove here in the washer that's supposed to go there, and they're a quarter of a turn off. We'll get to that when it goes back together. They've got it, I think, here, and it belongs right there. But we'll get to that when we get back to it. So he's going to pull the head so we can inspect the shim. Looks like the head's been leaking oil already. Oh, that's where that stupid tensioner was. Yeah. All right. He didn't have this before, and this is what we've put on to support all the weight of that carburetor and air silencer and so on. There's one more of these washers. Okay, I'll get some shots after we get the head pulled, and we'll inspect the shim and see.
Wow.
You know, see what condition everything's in.
400, like 400.
Here's the chain tensioner gear, and there are chunks knocked out of it. Right here, that whole piece of gear is missing on the side. Again, it's a double roller, but also this flat area on top, like we showed you before, should be more than double that thick. So this gear is more than halfway worn out. So we're going to throw a set of gears in it, clean this up, clean the pistons up, and put everything back together. We'll clean up the I'll machine the exhaust manifold down to match the intake, and then we'll get some pictures before we put it back together. I'm out here to verify the cylinder head thickness. .1314. There's some debris right there. Still some cylinder head gunk. Okay. 83.14 to 12 or to 20. Again, there's a little bit of debris on the 83.19. So stock is 85. They've cut it all the way to almost down to 83, which is why they put a shim on here to shim it up. I'm gonna get this taken in where we can bolt it down and clamp it down and machine it. But we have to mic this surface where everything bolts down.
Hey, start on this table.
And get an idea of the
Otherwise, we can leave water all over.
get an idea of the difference in the thickness here.
You gotta do just where that washer goes.
Right there. 14.88.
That is this one. You can't do it that way. You gotta do it straight. You gotta do it straight in.
Here, you take that. I can't handle the
Got a collar on
I
it.
can't handle the camera and the deal at the same time. You got 1433. I got thicker here. So try that again right in here. In the wrong spot, or was it leaning the opposite direction?
1450 something.
1425. Try the other side. Try back in here. What do you got?
$14.17.
1417. Try the center.
That's this one.
Try the center there. You gotta get as flat as possible though. Right where the washer goes. 1486.
Yeah.
So it may not be every one of these,
No, but you have to.
but they still gotta be all the
gotta-
same
You
thickness.
gotta mic this and mic that.
Yep.
And then take this down to meet that.
Okay, so the center,
Do that with that one.
this is 1486, and the center here was 1423. So we are, that's quite a ways off.
Yeah.
Try this end one here again. $13.66. So they haven't got it. They don't even have the manifold level. Okay.
Well, they never will, because they just fly cut that.
Yep.
But you have to do every one of these. Match it.
What do you got in that one?
They can't see it.
1467.
That's good.
Well, this one was 13 something.
Oh, it was, yeah. It's 13 and not 14.
Yeah. So it's 15 thousandths or better off. We're gonna have to take both of these in the other room and mic each area
Where they go.
where they go and machine that to accommodate so that each one's the same thickness. And this looks okay on the back side.
I mean, it's not great.
I'll run a cleaner across that. It's flat though. Okay. I'll try and get this. I got some bending to do across the street. And then I will come and I'll scarf these up and bring them over by the mill. Is the Bridgeport out in the other building? That might be the best one to use. I'll have to see. But we'll get these corrected. Rob mentioned that the oil filter housing didn't look right. You shouldn't see this big gap right here. So we're gonna pull this apart. See if there's the wrong seal or two seals or what's going on in here. Because that thing should be right up tight against the aluminum. Yeah, throw some junk on the floor there. You're gonna leak a little bit. Needs to be changed anyway. That's not that clean, so we wouldn't leave it in there anyway with all of what we've been doing, but it still needed to be changed. You have a seal there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Two.
Huh?
There's two of them.
There's two of them there? You think they think they stacked them?
There's one.
So they never took the old seal out?
Nope. They just stuck a new one on it.
Well, then that means that the oil filter never seated 100%,
No,
so
it won't seat,
it was
so-
bypassing around it.
Right. So it wasn't getting filtered.
It wasn't getting filtered properly. Some of it would be and some of it wouldn't.
Right.
Oh,
I knew
well.
that's what it was like because it wasn't uptight. Otherwise, it'll be uptight.
Well, now we're just making our customer uptight, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll fix that. We plan on putting another oil filter on it anyway, but this time we'll only put one seal back in, so it actually filters properly.
Right. We're gonna change the seal on the bottom of the filter too, because I'm sure they didn't do that.
Yeah. All right, enough for now.
I'm just gonna spin this on.
All right, back to Michael's front suspension. They're assembling the kingpins and the spindles back in. Getting ready to put things back together. Did you paint, or you still have to paint the kingpins or the spindles?
Yeah,
We got to paint these up, let them harden overnight, and then we can finish putting this together. Yeah. Well, get this painted so it can harden.
Glass all that stuff and then hang all these all at once.
All right.
And all set to fix and paint, just paint.
For two little items. Did you find another half a drive shaft for him?
Yeah, it's all together.
So this is the one you took apart. Is that the good piece of drive shaft?
Yeah, I think. Or is it in the hard one? Might be in the hard one. Oh, it's in the hard one.
But you do have another drive shaft for him, because I can't use that one. Okay. So do we have enough to put this rear end back together? Oh, you gotta press. You gotta press the bushings in yet, right? All right. He pressed new bushings into these areas. He brought a press in and did that. You got the old ones laying around here somewhere?
What?
You got the old bushings laying around here somewhere?
Where?
The bushings, the new ones you pushed in, you got the old ones? The old ones that came out of it. I just want to show them on film.
You already did.
We did, but they were still pressed into the housing.
One of them. The other one's in here somewhere. There's the other one.
And then the steel ones we already showed.
Yeah.
The steel ones go inside of these, right?
Yeah.
So these were worn because the steel ones were all shot. These are really dirty inside too.
Yeah, they were bad.
That thing must have been slopping all around.
They pop apart hard too.
All right. So the rear end is back together. New seals, new outer wheel bearings, new inner and outer seals, new rubbers here. Did you put a new pinion seal in this one?
Yeah.
So a new pinion seal here, new rubber O-rings on the shaft, and a new full boot, not a split boot.
After I got it all together, I found these in his parts. He already had them.
Oh, he already had
They were
these,
in his
so I
trunk.
probably billed him for them.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Can I have that whole box? I'll just credit him off his account for those.
Okay. I guess you can have them, but I want them back. 'Cause I want
Well, I'll take them for this guy's car. I'll credit him back. I know what the number is. And then they're gonna paint these tonight. They have all new bushings in there. You can see that's a new bronze bushing, all nicely fit to the kingpins.
This is junk.
We're gonna be painting that so that we can get the rest of the front end together. So we'll get some shots when we get this painted and the front end back together. And we're discussing with this gentleman here doing the body work and paint, and then doing a new interior. We're kind of waiting on putting these floors in till we find out how much this body we're going to be cutting out, because it actually makes it faster to put them in.
Building parts without this.
Back to Michael's car. No way to get this. No way to get this gear off of here with that bump in the.
Pounds heavy either.
That bump right there in the oil pan. Gear's right up by it. So oil pan had to come off. Pretty sludgy in the bottom, even though the oil looked clean, isn't it?
Oh, that's the oil.
So the oil doesn't look that clean. Well, we were going to change it anyway, but. Yeah, there's some sludge in it, but not so bad. They did clean up and paint the inside of the block, it looks like.
No.
Down here, is that what it usually is from the factory?
Normal, yeah, that's factory.
That's factory color. So we'll be putting, well, I guess we'll be putting a rear main seal and a front seal in it then. Or do you think
Half a rear main.
the rear main is decent up in the block? Okay. All right.
Oh, I just gotta pull the crank.
Yep.
Change the whole thing.
Then we'll, these are Michael's front spindle and hub assembly or housing. And then they will go on his front suspension, put that together and get that rolled out of here. Get some shots of this as it's going back together. This is a spacer sleeve that goes on here, but it's also the sealing surface that the front seal rides on. And it's all chewed up. But Rob just told me that in his parts that came with the car, there was a new one of these in there already, so we're going to use it. He's not going to put this thing back on. And there are some old guides that go in here to guide the chain.
They're right here.
And we're going to put, are those the old original ones?
Yeah, these are original.
Oh, the rubber gets cracked and shot.
The ends split off and they got little hairline cracks through
Yeah.
both of them.
Yeah, this is what happens when they're 60 years old. There's cracks through this rubber. There's pieces missing. We aren't going to trust that to guide the chain properly, so we're going to put some new guides in there. It'd be silly to go this far and put old, used, broken, or cracked stuff back in there. So one short, one long,
Yeah.
and you have a chain, correct?
And then you change.
All right.
Sludge out of the bottom of the pan. It's like, oh my.
Once we cleaned up the oil pan for Mike's car, We got a little surprise in the bottom. I'm not picking this up very well. Here, I'm trying to magnify without losing focus. What is that, like 3-inch long?
Yeah.
There's a 3-inch long crack right through the oil pan. All right, here's what I got to do. I got to fix that rear axle that's broken. Not on Michael's car, on another car. I don't want to scare Mike half to death here. So what I'll do is I will grind through that, take it across the street, and I'll heliarc it.
You gonna pound it back down first?
I'll tap it back out and grind material away. It does not leak out the bottom, or you don't know.
It didn't, but there was a 1/4 inch of sludge in the bottom.
It was really thick crap in the bottom. So now our luck, that's a deep crack.
It's a pretty good crack.
I'm afraid that.
Well,
Do me a
you wanna see
favor.
the other side?
Yeah, do me a favor though.
You can't really even see it. It's just a line.
It's dented.
Something's gotten driven over.
All right, do me a favor.
Looks like somebody jacked it up right there.
Tap it down. Take a cutoff wheel and cut me down about a 1/16 of an inch into that, so I got something to do. And the weld mark will be on the inside. It won't be visible out here. But take that small dish pan out of that, okay? And then I'll fix it.
Alrighty.
You can see.
Sure you want to do that?
In reality, this isn't too bad considering most of these cars, these babies are beat right down to nothing. Can you take a file to those or just clean them up for me?
I will.
Because it's sharp enough to cut my finger. So somebody recently hit things with this because those are clean and sharp. Or was it only because you just cleaned it?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look at it.
This is how dirty it was inside, right?
Well, it was.
Or that's just a drip of paint when you did the motor.
No, that's sealer, I think.
Okay. Well, yeah,
Could
just
be paint.
tap that back down, take the hump out. It won't split it any worse or anything like
Man, I
that.
hope not.
No, it shouldn't.
'Cause I've had them star.
You don't have to get it completely
From it,
flat.
you
Just
know.
take some of the hump
Oh, I
out,
know. I will
grind it down in there a 1/16 or so, and I'll fill it back in with aluminum.
Stick a 2x4 in the bottom.
How many you
All right.
order?
Back to Michael's oil pan. Near as we can tell, we think someone jacked up the car, put the floor jack right under the oil pan, because that's usually what bends them up. I cleaned it up, Rob ground down into there. I aluminum heliarced aluminum back into it, which distorts and blisters the daylights out of this side. So we ground that down, smooth that out. I started cleaning this up. They're going to sand it, kind of clean it up, blend everything in, but you can't see. Oh, he also took a block of wood and hammered the big dent that was on here. He hammered that out. So I have sprayed this. They're going to put a liquid in here for the weekend. Make sure there's no leaks anywhere else. Something just as an observation that Rob pointed out that I missed the other day. Right here, you can see where at one time when that engine went boom, the timing chain came loose and beat the oil pan up right here, but it didn't knock a hole through it. So we're not going to mess with that. It didn't hurt anything or break anything. So I just wanted to get a shot real quick of the repair. I'm not going to polish this out flat because that little extra weld actually strengthens that area. So we're going to leave it like it is.